guys, welcome back to the summer camp series where I'm going to be talking about various topics that are super important to know if you want to level up your art game. And today we're going to be talking about drawing older characters or like really old people and all of the nooks and crannies that we need to learn about the anatomy and stuff like that. Just a disclaimer, I'm doing this outside, so you might hear wind, you might hear the whoom of like a hummingbird or two. There's bugs and stuff, they might get in the way of the filming. Just be patient with me. I wanted to film outside, so we have to deal with the elements, of course. Watch the screen, because I have a whole bunch of examples that are going to show up over here, and also I have to point at my face for this kind of a video. This video is going to be talking a lot about this distinct anatomy and what happens as we age, so you can choose to omit certain things that I'm saying, or choose to exaggerate certain things, depending on what your style is and what character you're going for. It's really important that you have the general knowledge before you start drawing. So that's why I'm just kind of pointing at things instead of like actually drawing on the camera how I would draw an old person. So first we're going to start with the face, and we're going to work our way down from top to bottom. So starting with the forehead, there are two distinct types of wrinkles that show up on the forehead. The first one are these like parallel lines that happen along the forehead. If you have a character who's very expressive and they've spent a long life, you know, being really happy or moving their face around and doing lots of things, these wrinkles right here tend to get much more pronounced versus someone who had a much harder life. Maybe they're kind of grumpy, maybe they had a really demanding job. They tend to get these kind of like between the eyebrows, like frown lines right here, these like hockey stick, whatever they're called. And sometimes certain wrinkles trump other wrinkles. So for example, I had a chem teacher in high school. She was super friendly and funny and all that good stuff, but she had really bad frown lines right here because she spent her entire life like squinting into microscopes and studying really hard equations and things like that. So depending on the background of your character kind of tells you what you want their face to look like. Also, there are two types of veins that really stick out on the forehead. The forehead doesn't have much fat, so these veins tend to stick out a lot. The first one is a Y-shape vein that goes right down the middle of the forehead. They tend to bulge out whenever you're making like a distinct facial expression. It's not really like a rhyme or reason to when they appear, but they're there, and it's super common. The other ones are in the temples. There are two squiggly lines that go up from basically like the eyebrows up into the temples. Particularly if your character's like really mad or tense about something, that vein will tend to bulge out a little bit more. Moving down, we're going to go talk about the eyes. So for some people, based on ethnicity or based on their genes or whatever, they sometimes get like this sunken eye look. We know that the skull has like these two big circles like right here, so it's almost like everything sort of recedes. This leads to darker pigmentation in the skin. Also, there's just more shadow because everything is kind of going back in, so this area starts to look darker. Also, the lids, like the actual hood of the lid, starts to become more pronounced. I don't really know the specific reason why, but it does. So the eyes tend to be very noticeable when it happens like that. The other thing that can happen is you get eye bags. If your character maybe didn't get a lot of sleep, or their nutrition isn't super great, or if it just runs in the family, they might get very pronounced like eye bags, and then they're really like puffy down here. So those are two things that can happen. Also, when it comes to wrinkles, if you have a character who smiles a ton and they're a very happy person, they're going to have very defined crow's feet. And the crow's feet go from the corner of the eye up into the temple and also down into the cheekbone. Some people have it like really pronounced, others they don't. Also, sometimes people get these little crinkles underneath their eye. That can also happen too in terms of like smiling and stuff. Now we're going to go to here, which is we're talking about the nose and the ears. Cartilage continues to grow your entire life. So even though your bones stop growing and you reach a max height, these two features of your body will continue to grow, which is why old people always have much larger noses and ears than people who are younger than them. I also noticed that old women tend to have droopier earlobes because they've spent decades of their life wearing heavy earrings, and that tends to kind of weigh them down. Also, cheekbones. Just a general rule of thumb when it comes to drawing old people is that fat falls. It's due to gravity, it's due to age, it just happens. So when we're young, we have a lot of baby fat, and we have a lot of fat stored in our cheeks, and when we smile, it's very round. But as you get older and the effects of gravity, the fat will fall down from these cheekbones towards the jaw, which I'll get into in just a sec. And what happens is, you know how on a skull it's got like those sharp cheekbones, like literal bones right here? They start to become more pronounced, particularly in men. So you'll see like this sharp shadow going down at the cheekbones, even if they're very overweight. And it's all because it falls. So the cheeks, they also get a little bit more crepey, or they kind of look like baked clay, kind of depending on your character. If they've been inside more, it's not quite as pronounced, but you do get these fine wrinkles that go down the face and onto the cheeks. Moving our way down a little bit, these two wrinkles are super common. I think everyone knows about them, but be careful when you're drawing them because they can start to look like marionette lines and you don't want that. Also, it's not just a line. It's literally these cheeks are kind of like coming in like this, which I know looks really weird, but the fat is coming in. It's a dent. So you have to be careful when you're drawing it that you show like the shadow of these curves that are coming into the face. And these happen because, like I said before, the fat falls. Also, it's decades worth of sleeping like this. So that crease tends to show up a lot more. Also, when it comes to the area of the lips, you get these very, very fine lines along the top of the lips. Really, really fine. So when you're drawing it, don't push that line a little bit too dark because you're going to get like that crab apple mouth. Also, I find that these lines tend to happen more on people with thinner lips. I don't know if that's like a thing or if it's just something I've noticed, but it seems to be a thing that you can use. Now lastly, we get down to the jaw. Like I said before, fat falls. So what ends up happening is old people don't have like really sharp jaw lines like younger people do. You get these kind of softer, like wavier jaw lines because that's where all the fat kind of ends up. So it's very soft for the most part on most characters. So that is the general face. There are two other areas that show age. Let's say you have a character who's like a Botox beauty and they're all like pulled tight everywhere because of the Botox. There are two areas that they cannot hide with plastic surgery or anything like that. They're going to reveal their age, and that is the neck and the hands. So starting with the neck, there are two kind of necks that tend to happen. One of them is kind of like that turkey neck where they have a lot of just a lot of fat deposits that come down into the neck, versus like instead of having this kind of thing, it kind of comes down like this, or it might even come down like this if it's really, really bad. Again, it's because of the fat. Also, the skin starts to kind of look, it still has like those fine lines or whatever because the skin's old. The other way is some people just stay really, really skinny and they don't get a lot of fat in their neck, but that means that everything is very pronounced. So they'll have like a very deep collarbone and a very deep shadow that kind of goes there, and the two tendons that come along down the neck are also very pronounced. Even still, even if they're really skinny, they're going to get a lot of lines in this area, and this is not something that you can just get some Botox and fill in later. This is a genuine sign of age is the neck. So if you have a character that is really obsessed with their looks and they're very Botoxed, they're probably going to wear turtlenecks and scarves in order to cover that area up as best they can. Now moving on to the hands. So, fun little story. I remember reading in the newspaper like years ago that there was this guy who stole an old man's identity and bought a plane ticket, and he basically had to get disguised as an old man to get on the plane. And he almost got away with it, but the flight attendants, they noticed that his hands looked a lot younger than his face, and that's how he was caught. So, with the hands, the back of the hand shows the most age. You get these veins along here, they start to really bulge out. Remember that the veins are blue, so use like a transparent blue paint to get that kind of look. And the bones also start to pop out more, the knuckle bones really stick out. Also, the skin starts to get a bit looser. So not just the knuckles get a lot more wrinkly, but the skin in between the knuckles tends to get more, like there's more draggy kind of skin. And then on the other side, the palms show what your occupation is. So if you have a character who is like a carpenter or a gardener or something, that they spend a lot of time outside with their hands, they're going to have very meaty palms, lots of calluses, and very deep kind of wear and tear into the palms, versus someone who spent a lot of time indoors and maybe they didn't have such a hard job. It's going to be a bit smoother, softer, and finer lines. But definitely on the back, liver spots everywhere, thick veins, that kind of thing. This shows a lot of age. Again, back to that Botox beauty kind of character. Just putting it out there, Madonna, she tends to wear a lot of like fingerless gloves, a lot of gloves, because it hides the age of the hand. So that's another thing that you could do. Maybe your character wears like those like evening gloves, and they just kind of like try to hide that or something. So those are the 3 areas of the body that show the most age. I could talk a little bit more about the body themselves. Remember that the fat falls. So if you have like a person's arm is out here, it's going to sag, because even if they're really toned and really fit, that skin is old and it's kind of droopy, and then the fat from the arm is no longer clinging right here, it's coming down. And that kind of happens all over the body. The boobs start to sag, stomach sags, like everything just kind of descends, to put it not very nicely. And then also there's just more spots on the body. You've got freckles, especially along the chest and the face. Freckles, warts, beauty marks, veins that just kind of like show up all over the skin. These are all completely normal things, and they give a lot of character and personality to whoever you're drawing. And that is pretty much it, like the general gist of what you need to know if you're drawing an older character. Again, use what I said in this video not only to draw like elderly people, but adults, you know. You can choose to omit or soften things or exaggerate things depending on what kind of character you're going for, but now you have the general knowledge in order to make that happen. So in the next video we're going to be talking more about the head and more about things like that, so stay tuned for whenever the heck that comes out. I tend to draw old people sometimes. I really like drawing them, by the way. I think they look great with younger characters because it makes the whole scene look very cute, and I also think that it's nice when you have a range, because then you can have like a mystic character or the crazy old lady character. You can kind of do more things with the story when there's different ages that you can play with. So let me know if this was helpful to you down in the comment section below, or by liking this video. Subscribing would be even better, but you know that already. Catch me on Instagram, Snapchat, and Tumblr. It's all Bianna Bova. Also, I have a lovely Redbubble account where you can go purchase some things, and that would be really cool. Yeah, I think that is all for today. Hope you guys are having a fabulous August day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys!